Welcome back, everyone, to Seaweed Brain, a Nico D'Angelo Adventures podcast. We're here for chapters 19 to 23 today of The Court of the Dead. We've got more mist, chaos, and finally arriving at the titular role with a brand new guest. Stick around.
Hey friends, this is Audie Cornish, host of CNN This Morning and The Assignment, and guess what? Every story you care about, every angle you want unpacked is now streaming on CNN. That means you can catch my show or other CNN programming whenever you want on your favorite device. And a subscription also gets you access to exclusive video series and unlimited articles. So subscribe to CNN at cnn.com/subscription.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. New players, new games, new rules. Squid Game, The Challenge returns for a gripping second season. 456 contestants from all walks of life, competing in the ultimate test of strategy, alliances, and endurance. For a life-changing prize of $4.56 million. With stakes this high, why make friends when you can make millions? Watch Squid Game, The Challenge Season 2, only on Netflix November 4th.
All right, welcome, everybody. My name is Erica, joined as always by my co-host, Carter. What's up, Carter?
Hi, hello.
Much like our characters today, you also went into the bay. Oh, wait. No, you did the reverse. You left the bay.
I left SF. We're still along the bay.
Does everyone know that Carter goes to school in San Francisco? I'm so sorry. Everybody knows.
I ran into somebody at the book tour and they were like, "Are you based around here?"
Oh my God, they didn't know.
And I said yes.
Now you know.
And they specifically, I think, work at the school that I'm currently at as well. So fun all around.
Well, Carter did the reverse journey of our demigods today, but still our live Bay Area correspondent. I'm wearing my Golden Gate Park shirt today, even though we're not quite at the Golden Gate Park yet. We're getting there because we went to the city. And we have a special brand new guest today also who showed up in a relevant t-shirt. We have TJ, a patron of this podcast, joining us today, an actual real life undergrad student, aka young person, here to talk to us about the Court of the Dead. How are you, TJ?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. And it's really just an honor to be here.
Yay!
Unlike Carter, I'm not from San Francisco or the Bay Area. I've never been to California, so I might not be as knowledgeable.
That's okay. There's not a ton of California happening in this set of chapters, really. There's a lot of concrete happening in the set of chapters. We'll get there. TJ, would you tell us about your relationship with Nico D'Angelo as a character?
There's a lot to say there. Let's see. I started the books, I want to say, in like 5th grade, and then, which probably sounds crazy to you guys compared to where you guys started the books, but
5th grade for me as well.
Oh, okay. I kind of took a break from books, but I got back into it when the show started. I got in Titan's Curse, and I just loved Nico ever since. Then House of Hades came out, and he turned out to be gay, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And I figured it out a couple books later than him, so really enjoyed the journey.
12 years ago, I think exactly 12 years ago, Nico D'Angelo, House of Hades. I know because Facebook memories will not stop pelting me with posts by Carter and I about the House of Hades from 12 years ago. We might as well do a live reading since I just had another brand new one, which I had to send to Carter yesterday from the time of recording. Carter Nakamoto, October 22nd, 2013, finished the House of Hades. Just ... Wow. Period. Intense. Period. New paragraph. Chapter 36. ... Erica ... Yeah.
That's chapters.
Amazing. And did you enjoy reading The Sun and the Star?
So on my first read, I didn't enjoy it as much because I guess I didn't read them as they were coming out. So I was kind of just going through them. I was like, oh, okay, they got into Tartarus. Okay, that's cool. But as I reread it and listened to you guys' episodes on it, I really got to see that. I was like, it wasn't just about going to Tartarus. It was Nico and Will building on their relationship and really just developing that.
Oh, that's so lovely. I love when we get to force people into enjoying The Sun and the Star to the level that we enjoyed it. All right. As we said, this week we are going into the city. Similar to going into Tartarus, we're heading into downtown San Francisco.
Not too much. Hey.
No, I was like actually not similar to going into Tartarus because I freaking love San Francisco. We're going into San Francisco. We are heading to the titular Court of the Dead. But first, we pick up in chapter 19 with a little bit of housekeeping at Camp Jupiter.
We're basically just planning the visit at this point. We've ended the previous chapter with the drop of the court ID. So we know that we have to go into San Francisco to face the boss of Laverna, who we don't know, but who has been fundamentally responsible for all the kidnappings. So we're holding ourselves back. We're regathering. And most importantly and relevantly for us, Frank volunteers to not join us.
Woohoo!
I'm thrilled,
Girls
ecstatic. It's a girls' trip. He said somebody has to hold down the fort, and we said yes. How about you? Yeah.
Well, it should be you three: Hazel, Will, Nico. End quote. And at this point, I thought that the rest of the book was going to just be a Hazel, Will, Nico quest. Small spoiler. That's not the case, unfortunately. But we can enjoy.
I fear that's a major spoiler.
Well, I mean, by the end of this you read to the end of this section, Carter, so you already know that.
Yeah, but I was like, oh, Frank's just going to be like chilling in camp the whole time.
Right. I'm fine with seeing more Frank. I'm not as bad on him, but I do enjoy the main three.
And don't let us turn you into a Frank hater, all right? That's us.
It's very questionable this book, though. I will admit.
And that's true. As Nico hobbles off to bed, the Cocoa Puffs are following behind him, and he gets referred to as the Pied Piper of Darkness. Would you like to quote the outline, Carter?
Yeah. Weapons, you're nothing, except for what two we gave you on the Patreon episode that is about to be released. It'll be released by the time this airs. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's that on that. What else is there? We're like dealing with a lot of odds and ends here in this section before we head out to the city. Semele is still kind of not on board. She still has a lot of questions to raise. I'm still okay with that. I'm still following her on her journey. Erica, did you want to talk about this Frank thing?
Oh, Frank is just still upset about falling asleep and whatnot, and feeling like he's not helping enough. And Hazel kisses him and is like, "It's gonna be okay. Don't worry about it." And it just reminded me of this sort of trend on the internet of humorous videos that people are making that are like POV, your friend is raising your boyfriend. I saw a really good one recently that I tried to go back in my archive and see if I saved it on Instagram, and I didn't, but I was going to link it in the outline of POV, your friend is raising their partner, and they were in the crowd at a Chappell Roan concert, and the friend was sitting down the whole time, and the partner was coddling them. Anyway, we all know that. And if you don't know that, consider yourself blessed. But we all have a friend who's raising their boyfriend, girlfriend, or partner. And it was just a little bit sad to me. If you ever see that your friend is raising their significant other like a child, there should be a hotline you could call. For now, those are our DMs, I guess. The
hotline is your other mutual friends to organize and take some collective action.
I mean, it makes sense. Frank spent the entire night with anger, so it makes sense he needs that support.
Yeah, he's in a weird spot. And we're going to say bye to him. So goodbye, Frank. As Nico goes to bed tonight, there's a bit of a dream sequence where guilt is definitely weighing on him. Guilt, the emotion, not the puff. Maybe the puff as well. There's a moment in his dream where Ariel looks at him and says, quote, "Why couldn't you protect me?" Which is a very sensible, traumatic dream to be having in this moment as Ariel's been taken away. But after the Nico recounting his experience with Percy Jackson and the Titan's Curse section, it really made me think of Nico turning to Percy and saying, "Why didn't you save Bianca? Why didn't you save my sister? Where's my sister?" Mm-hmm, it felt very. Did it feel to you like that specifically of a callback? Okay.
Oh, for sure.
I wasn't sure if I was going a little bit crazy.
No, that's I think definitely what's being invoked. Almost certainly deliberately, but also I don't really care.
And it kind of makes sense, kind of like how Percy grows up and he kind of sees things from like Luke's perspective a bit more. So I think Nico, I still don't think he feels 100% on Percy's perspective on everything, but he's, some things they could see eye to eye. So it's kind of like him growing up in his shoes now.
Paul, I'm kind of obsessed with Luke being to Percy as Percy is to Nico is pretty wild.
I really liked this section of him choosing to not wake up Will and to deal with this himself, to not immediately go to Dionysus and say, like, okay, I've learned some things. I have been on a journey. We're going to see how far I can get. Obviously, like, knowing he has those supports, but also saying, we're going to try some techniques. We're going to, listen to the sound of the water and cool off. I appreciated this. It's very clean, simple, right? Yeah.
We're noticing that there's some fun new world building. The world is building before our very eyes. Something is changing about the Cocoa Puffs. And I'm going to read this description on page 200. Breathe, Nico, he told himself. Don't let your thoughts run wild. He tickled Gilt's smoky belly. Its spider legs kicked in the air. Memories flooded Nico's mind. Marching into Manhattan with his father to join the battle against Kronos. Fighting the giants at the Acropolis side by side with Hazel. Saying goodbye to Bianca and realizing what an impact her heroism had left on the world. They were not memories of guilt exactly. They were memories of times he'd worked through guilt and turned it into pride. Nico studied the sleeping puff. What are you trying to tell me? He whispered. Guilt cooed and growled in its sleep. He didn't understand what was happening with the Keiko demons. They were changing, communicating in more ways than just their signature emotions. But that mystery would have to wait. Interesting. Putting a pin in this for now, I think.
Yeah. This book is structurally so different from the other books in the amount of time that it'll take to not just lay the groundwork for future power-ups or future particular obstacles that we're going to have to hit. Like, there's some deviations from the classical quest structure, like the Keiko demon transformation and like Nico having I guess it is potentially a premonitory dream in the way that we're used to in the series, but having this long section afterwards where we're describing his emotional reaction to it that isn't just like, I'm scared or I have to protect my friends. But there is also, at the same time, a gravitational pull towards the quest structure that we're seeing. That is, I think, like a structural question about how the book is and what we can get away with in middle grade fiction as far as meandering and nonlinearity, but also it is. I think there's strong alignment between that and Nico's actual personal PTSD journey of trying to reframe things in his life and to prepare for something where trauma response is less and less adaptive.
As you recall, we were talking the past 2 weeks about how exciting it was that this book was not a quest and more of a mystery. And we were having Detective D'Angelo trying to figure out this political, social situation slowly, bit by bit. But then we get the quote, and yet now this Mythic's dilemma was starting to feel like an actual quest. Go to the courthouse, find and rescue his friends, beat whatever baddies had abducted them. Nico was starting to wonder if this would be the first quest he'd fail. We're about halfway into the book. So I'll take my first half, no quest.
I really do feel like once it gets to like this point, it really starts like picking up compared to the rest of the book. So it really has that quest feel. Like we're not really getting any slow time with Nico and Will just eating breakfast with the Mythics and stuff like that.
Yeah. I wonder if in the next book we could really do a whole book without a quest, or if that's like literally cannot be published by Disney Hyperion. I don't know.
Like to flesh out what the alternative to the quest would have been. Original hypothesis was that this is going to be the canvassing book, the brunch book, the coffee chats with your neighbors book. And it seemed like, again, I have not read beyond the final chapter that we're discussing today. It seems like we're done with that phase of the journey and that like we're leaving it at like common enemy. We got the Romans. We checked you in the box and we're moving on, which is understandable for the way that they're trying to raise the stakes and have, say, like Asterion and Hazel have fuller, richer journeys with different types of antagonists that look more fully and retroactively at their past. But I would also like to have seen that alternative.
Right. Quote, all it had taken was a common enemy that was even scarier. Nico still wasn't sure how he felt about that in order to unite the Romans.
And no one should be sure how you feel about that. That's not it's not an ethical strategy and it's not a sustainable strategy for building these coalitions. Like when the common enemy leaves, you're still going to have to figure out how to live with each other. And maybe it'll be a shortcut that'll let you spend more time together and learn about each other's cultural practices. And like build relationships through this common enemy prep that will be enduring. But I don't think any of those things are inevitable, and they're not the most robust ways of thinking about how to grow alongside neighbors with differences.
I think if we wanted the coffee shop brunch book, I've been thinking about this. I think that the way around it eventually turning into a quest at page 200 is for it to be like a collection of short stories.
Yeah, there would have to be, I think, another structural gimmick of being like, literally each section of the book is convincing a different person by doing a different thing. We're like, oh, we have to get Lavinia, so we're going to do 40 pages of square dancing and talking about like Lavinia's personal experiences dating Poison Ivy and
yeah, it's like one group becoming socialized or radicalized per short story.
Yeah. And I think that is generally the trade-off that we always structurally make with nonlinear storytelling is you need like a big alternate structural hook to say the reason why it's not linear is because we're doing this gaggy thing with flashbacks or we're color grading differently and we're interspersing or whatever.
Yeah, it's the short story book, but it opens on brunch in New Rome with all of the curls. Frank is not present. And that's like the opening vignette. And then in it's like each of them is like Nico and Will and Hazel are all sharing the stories of like the different groups they interacted with that day or that week.
Yeah, like a Sex and the City framing device.
Yes, exactly. And then we go into a short story that's like that whole interaction. And then in between each short story, we come back to the brunch vignette.
Yeah, and they get to reflect and be like, "Oh yeah, I had a similar trauma that I also
Tyson
worked
and Ella
through previously."
Yeah, and I think that's definitely way better than just the Romans like, "Oh, we have a common enemy. Let's just fight people. Like, let's just not think about this. We get to fight." So,
yeah, unfortunately, an accurate reflection of our world. Is it like the utopia that we want? Is it fully automated gay space luxury communism? No, but it is an accurate representation of where our world is at, reflected back at us. All right. Before we head into San Francisco, because the Cocoa Puffs are changing, Nico is feeling #vulnerable. The exact line is, he didn't understand it, which made him feel vulnerable. And that was a little bit intense, I feel like, when I read that. I was like, whoa, you mean when I don't understand something, it makes me feel vulnerable? That was like $120 worth of therapy in that one sentence. I had never had that realization for myself before, that when I don't get something, it makes me feel vulnerable, and then I start putting walls up. But that's exactly what Nico's doing, and he's going to leave the Cocoa Puffs behind. How do we think that's going to work out?
Allegedly.
I was kind of shocked by this because I was kind of under the impression that you could not physically do that. Like, I don't think I was realizing how separate the Cocoa Puffs are from Nico at this point in time. I was thinking
I feel like at the jury, I mean, like, spoiling, I guess, the rest of the chapters we're going to talk about, the jury is, I think, still out on that. Is it physically possible for Nico to not co-locate with the Cocoa Puffs?
Yeah, it's almost, I feel like it's like a Bluetooth connection. Like, they can't get that. They can be like a certain distance away, but not so far.
Yeah, they can sleep in while he's at the other end of camp getting his Roman bath on, but maybe they can't be at the other side of the country or the other side of the bay even.
So you think it's more like a physical and a mental connection? Because he kind of said like it's kind of like wearing like, I forgot what he said.
Wearing your heart on your sleeve.
You're right. Like he's vulnerable with them. So like if they get hurt, does he get hurt? Like we still haven't seen like much of that.
Yeah.
The specific wearing your heart on your sleeve line made me think of Piper and made me so glad that they chose to call Piper at the end of the last book, because I do think as far as like a character in the Riordanverse who has experienced something similar to this and would be present to like speak on these kinds of themes of how our emotions make us stronger, even in like combat scenarios, it is Piper. And I was kind of hoping when I read this that like we would see Piper again, or we'd have to phone Piper for like emotional support, being like, and how do I use my like intuition in combat again? Yeah. We're leaving them behind for now. That's not going to work out. And then we #go into town.
Insert here. This is the phrase that I'm comfortable with, but it is not used in the Bay Area.
Wow.
You don't go into town. You go into the city, not to be the police or anything over here. I think that like in a lot of other suburbs, you go into town. Like where we grew up, we would talk about going into town for the day. But
yes,
I don't.
But in SF, they don't say town; they say city.
Well, I mean, like town, I think is not specific enough, and it's also not. I don't think it's right to say that SF is the town relative to everything else going on. Because, like, they're all towns. Like, the Bay Area is a collection of towns, and SF is the city among the towns. Anyway.
Understood. Interesting.
Makes sense.
Stupid language things that don't actually matter. It's probably not interesting to anybody to also say things like, you don't take the BART, you take BART. You also don't take the BART train, you just take BART. That's okay.
Yeah. I think it's interesting in the age where the internet is literally like destroying regional accents and like quirks within our language. I think it's very interesting to hear things like this.
There's still regional accents, even though the New York Times is trying to like explain them all to everybody. Like, there are other things. Like, another key differentiator is that no one says San Fran in the Bay Area either. That is a uniquely tourist moniker, and it is, I think, one of the things that remains is something that will get you flagged as someone who isn't really from here.
SF or the Bay?
SF, or I mean the Bay for the general area, the city.
Wasia.
I don't think I heard that one.
Oh, really? I thought we were collectively referring to the Bay as the continent of Wasia.
There's other stuff going on around here as well.
Like
anyway.
poop. Will wants to share his poop on the train story because he's a New York girly, and it's hilarious, the gag that he keeps wanting to share the story and it gets cut off, so we don't actually get to hear the story. But I want to hear the story.
I also just, like, Will is new to this area. Let me tell you, poop on the subway, that's Tuesday. Maybe that was a story for you. I genuinely don't know, SF versus New York, like, which train system is more poop forward, but I think it's probably ours.
I didn't take the subway that much. I didn't take the train that much in SF, but I would say that I have seen human feces on the New York subway many times.
There was not 1 week ago, I was at the platform waiting for a train, and I was like, oh, why is no one sitting on this bench? And it was because there was a full piece of poop there.
Just yesterday morning, I walked out of the subway station in my own neighborhood, and I was like, oh, what is this slippery substance at the top of the stairwell? Oh, somebody had a bad morning.
That's the smell of the greatest city in the world. That... Is everyone in on this bet that the you could talk about New York smelling like pee, that is specifically very dehydrated, or you could say when you smell pee that you were smelling the greatest city in the world.
That sounds
perspective. Fair. Beautiful.
Yeah. Before we leave camp, Nico says, Percy Jackson, leave that boy alone. Chef's kiss, no notes, incredible characterization, perfect perspective.
Put a little accent on alone.
Alone. Exactly what you say about your old camp counselor that you had a crush on as a kid and don't anymore and have gotten over that experience emotionally, but also at the end of the day, nobody can understand him on as deep as a level as you can.
Yeah.
Leave that boy alone. He is that boy to you.
Yeah, there's a little sweetness in that.
I kind of also heard that in Rick's voice, like, I already give you so much Percy content. Just leave him alone. We don't need Percy anymore.
Absolute agree.
And I also included, like, Hazel said she was gonna go get Annabeth and Percy, and that Will said that Percy was gonna stab her with his pen sword, and Nico's like, oh, bold of you to assume Annabeth wouldn't stab her first. Which honestly I think is so real, because I feel like Percy, well, all right, sure, I'll help you out, guys. Annabeth's like, no, we got classes, we got exams, we work too hard to do more quests.
Yes. And note the difference between raising your significant other and managing their career. See the difference. Witness it. Annabeth is his manager, not his mom.
Yeah.
Okay, chapter 20.
Yes. We kick off with a fun little jokey aside, a cold open, if you will, about how there is now a temple to Laverna on Temple Hill in Rome, and it is a jail. Okay.
Trap.
I don't know what else to say about that. There's a lot of traps. There's a lot of traps that we're discussing in this book. That's
As
kind
Haley
of
pointed
Savannah's
out
whole
last
backstory.
Week,
yeah.
Perhaps a theme of traps, both physical and identity-wise.
Yeah. Okay. Metaphoric resonance. Yes.
Yeah, I really did like this, how they're like focusing on like Jason's dream. Like, I know it's different for you guys since you guys read the books as they came out, but like it still feels like a while since Trials of Apollo. Like, just seeing that he's like dead still, and like, oh, we're still doing this. Like, we haven't heard any mention since like Trials of Apollo. Like, they were really consistent with
Yeah,
this,
building the
unlike other
temples to all the
promises,
gods.
unlike Percy's, which kind of sucks.
Definitely. I think there's a really delightful attention to the pieces of lore about the Rider verse that have been like dropped in other books because they aren't like necessarily relevant. Slash, I also feel like that's maybe the perk of having a co-writer come in and like look at your entire world you've built and been like, oh, this thing, we should talk about this thing that you said, or like, remember this thing that happened? We should be talking about that, fresh eyes, maybe.
Yeah. Speaking of fresh eyes, we have Nico come out when we're on the train, boarding the train. Like Nico just, we're going to read this quote. This time, though, Nico didn't feel envious of their ignorance of, normies, civilians. He didn't want to live in a world without mythical chaos. He was happy to be a demigod. Of course, impossible to read as anything but a direct counterpoint, contradiction, rebuttal to
that boy.
The beginning of the entire series. Yeah, I think that this is the realness. Nico said, like, you're not a real scene kid. You're not a real weirdo. You're not really about this life.
Sorry, this was giving straight Percy to me when Nico said this right now as like a direct reference to, look, I didn't want to be a half-blood.
Mm-hmm.
And Nico is like, yeah, you will never be in the community. You will.
Yeah, you're not a real separatist. You're not really about the weirdo lifestyle, any of that. Yeah.
He's fine with not being normal. Like,
you have been caught without this little hat on, this stupid little hat on. You have been seen without this stupid hat on. Nico, on the other hand, has never been seen without this stupid hat on, and that's weird.
It's true. It's true. And I think it is an important counterpoint that at some point, like, somebody has to voice this different perspective that I do think, to your point in the outline, Erica, Percy probably still doesn't think this way.
Yeah.
After all of this time, he would probably stand by saying, you shouldn't want to be a half-blood. It's tough. It's worse. Yada, yada. I'm glad I have my community, but it would be easier for all just like regular kids going to regular school. And Nico's like, it would not be easier as a regular kid going to regular school. Absolutely not.
I think it means so much more like coming from Nico because like he probably went through the most out of all of them. Like even more than Percy. Like he went to Taurus there and back
by himself. Yeah.
If he could go to Taurus twice, lose all the people he lost, and still be happy with being a demigod, I don't think anyone else could complain.
Yeah. Anyway, we're taking BART. And we pop up in Civic Center. We are downtown San Francisco, very close to the Orpheum Theater of Erica and Rachel Bloom fame.
I was literally gagged when I was like, oh my God, we're literally going to the subway stop in SF that I went to every day for 2 months when I was working there. And like the one part of the city that we are in right now is the one part of the city I actually know very intimately for like 8 blocks. This like one radius around the Orpheum Theater. That was really cool.
Yeah. This is, as they note, where the courthouses are. And we're specifically not looking for the California State Supreme Court. We're not looking for any federal district courthouses. We're looking for the municipal one, which is less fancy, smaller, normally traffic violations, that type of thing. And we're prepping with some missed action here. Hazel says, I've leveled up. I've figured out a way to do this with less energy. I am judo master, going with the flow, becoming water. She literally does this extended water metaphor.
Listen, let's honor the witchy crumbs. Quote, I realized the mist has currents, I guess. Like I was paddling upstream, trying to make the mist do what I wanted. That's exhausting. I needed to pay attention to where the mist wanted to go and flow with it. Much easier.
Which is interesting because I feel like she said something similar in House of Hades when she was learning this the first time, right? Like all this mist is about leaning into people's preconceived notions. And it's not exactly clear to me at this point how what we're seeing is different from that on a conceptual level of what makes it easier, what makes it more effective.
In D&D, I'm sorry, Carter. In D&D, one of the ways used to refer to like magic and like the magic that spellcasters use is the weave. And I felt like this was we're going to have to ask Mark about this. I felt like this was an identical way of conceptualizing magic in the Riordan verse, that it is not something that you conjure and that like shoots out of your fingertips, but it is something that is constantly around us that we
like
don't,
the force,
that we pull
inherent to the
on.
universe.
Yeah, inherent to the universe, but only some people have access to it.
I feel like it's a force call out, given Mark's publication history in oeuvre.
It feels more specifically aligned with the weave than the force to me, just because the force feels, I don't know, almost bigger and more expansive than the water metaphor, more enigmatic. That's just me.
Yeah, I feel like it's going on like both perspectives because I think in House of Hades she was kind of saying like, oh, we gotta like give people what they want to see, like the help with it.
Exactly.
And then
exactly.
you also have like the actual, like Erica said, like the weave, like the actual mist. So like I think it's like balancing both those forces at the same time to try to come up with an in between. That's kind of how I read it.
Okay. Yeah. We
I like
also
that.
have a really long extended bit about how much they think it's funny to see other people wearing, I guess, Hazel's idea of lawyer formal clothes.
Because she's from New Orleans like 100 years ago.
I mean, like, a part of it is just generally, like, they think that the idea of being a banker is hilarious, which I support. You should think it's ridiculous. It is a little bit silly to put on your little outfit
Ha ha ha
and say your little things about, oh, haha, I'm putting hundreds of people out of work or whatever it is that those people do.
What is that Robert Downey Jr. quote? I have never seen a more like despicable, awful, horrendous baby like man. You know that video, that famous
Referring to an investment banker?
You've never seen this. He goes to like Wall Street for a day and then it cuts to
Robert Downey Jr.
Yes.
Okay.
You know this
Robert
video?
Downey Jr. did this. And didn't Keanu Reeves also, like, pre being a movie star, he was like a Canadian sketch comedy person who also did like a bit?
If money is evil, then that building is hell. This is the most obnoxious group of money-hungry, low IQ, high energy, jackrabbit, fucking wannabe, big time, small time, shit talking, bothersome, irritating bunch of motherfuckers I have ever had to endure for more than 5 minutes.
Hazel, Will, and Nico in this chapter.
Yes. Obviously, that was a very tumultuous time in his life, but may I say that the oeuvre was never better than that early career. Looking great, being on Ally McBeal, kind of being on SNL, and things kind of really took a turn for him, but like that was kind of peak, unfortunately, for him and his personal life.
But to the idea of putting somebody in a baby blue seersucker suit to like be a lawyer is so funny. Is either because it's San Francisco or because Hazel is from New Orleans 100 years ago.
That's not how they do things in San Francisco. In San Francisco, like, ugly business professional is like a quarter zip pullover, or people are wearing like suits. You know, like I think it's literally Hazel. I think it's a New Orleans 100 years ago thing of her being like, is this what a fancy person wears? Seersucker, for those of you who don't know what blue seersucker is, imagine somebody who is on a beach vacation in maybe the Hamptons or Nantucket.
Y'all don't know what blue seersucker is? Did nobody dress up as the Great Gatsby for Halloween? What in God's name?
But specifically think about the Great Gatsby in like the summer when he has to like be outside the whole day or something. Like, we're talking about a fabric that's like ultra lightweight, you could not wear this to be a stockbroker or something.
No, not appropriate for representing your clients in court.
Yeah.
Oh, adorable. Let's take an ad break and see how it goes wearing that seersucker in court.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Carvana lets you buy your next car on your terms. Explore a massive inventory online, filter for what matters, and find your perfect match. Then choose delivery to your home or pick it up at one of Carvana's iconic car vending machines. Every car also comes with a 7-day money-back guarantee, so you can make sure it's the right fit. Buy your car on Carvana. Delivery or pickup fees may apply. Limitations and exclusions may apply. See our 7-day return policy at Carvana.com.
Carvana. A message from McAfee. Wondering why the post office is texting you or why you owe thousands of dollars in toll fees? Because someone's trying to scam you. The good news? McAfee can help. With McAfee's award-winning scam detection, it's easy to tell what's real and what's fake over text, in your inbox, and online. If they're
You want a free gift.
Seriously? If they're faking it, they're not making it past us. Get award-winning scam detection today. McAfee.com/keepitreal.
Once upon a mundane morning, Barb's day got busy without warning. A realtor in need of an open house sign. No, 50 of them, and designed before 9.
My head hurts.
Any mighty tools to help with this plight? Aha! Barb made her move. She opened Canva and got in the groove.
Bulk creating Canva sheets. Create 50 signs fit for suburban streets.
Done in a click, all complete.
Sweet!
Now, imagine what your dreams can become when you put imagination to work at canva.com.
Okay, we're back. Chapter 21. We're going inside the municipal court, the smaller, uglier one. Interesting, strange. Immediately, Hazel is getting mist sick. She's saying, quote, can't concentrate. You know how I said the mist has currents? In here, it feels like white water Rapids. Will is like, oh no, let me get you a Kit Kat bar, and goes into his backpack, and what falls out? The Cocoa Puffs. I was specifically thinking of an image in The Boy and the Heron when all the Wada Wada shoot out of the ship and they're like tumbling over one another and they're like, woo, woo. It's freaking cute.
Yes. And it turns out useful. We're really leaning into the soft world building of it all with the Cocoa Puffs.
Brick by boring brick, one might even say.
Yeah, one might. They basically all hold them, and it enables them to see through the mist more clearly and understand that on one level this is a municipal court proceeding, but we're mostly thinking about this as being in the underworld, this subterranean garish court setup where there are these masked judges wearing, I don't know what mental image people had for this. Were people thinking like Venetian gondolier? Were people thinking like no? Were people thinking, I guess one of the references is the like drama mask, the like happy, sad, classical things that you imagine in like a emoji for drama or something.
The book said over exaggerated Halloween mask of a president. So I was thinking Spirit Halloween, plastic, Richard Nixon. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, that's what we have going on. We're watching this proceeding.
Yes. I really want to talk about how and why the holding the Cocoa Puffs is allowing them to see through the mist, but we don't get that. We really brush past it. So I think we're going to have to put a pin in that for another day when we have a little bit more information about it. We can speculate. Would you like to speculate?
I mean, I think that everything with the Cocoa Puffs is some sort of, getting in touch with your trauma helps you to understand things more clearly, to that like your relationship with them is empowering. But as far as more specific, certainly no one's going to explain it. And we don't have anything by way of parameter testing or sort of like hitting the walls on this one. Like it happens, and that's there's no edge cases or variation or anything that we're seeing as far that might clarify what the metaphor is for us. And that's okay.
Yeah, the closest thing we really got was with the thief, how they were able to sense the thief coming a couple chapters ago with the Cocoa Puffs. But even then they didn't really explain. It was kind of just like, oh, it happened.
Right. Some kind of thread of heightening our awareness of our surroundings.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that we're literally in the titular Court of the Dead, which is not only this book, but also the experience of the book tour, and seeing this description of the masks and thinking in my head of like the exaggerated president's masks, I sort of wish that Stephanie Laurie's husband, who was playing the judge at the Court of the Dead book tour, had a like grotesque Rick Riordan mask on, because that would have been, I think, like fully extending out the metaphor of the book tour, because the head judge in this court is wearing a grotesque Hades mask.
That would have been really cool. I gotta say though, this was my first book tour and I really did enjoy it. I went to the one in Virginia and it was just so much fun.
Yeah.
Were you had you read the book at all yet when you went?
No, I think I read like a couple of chapters, but I just wanted to see the whole experience, not try to go in too deep.
Yeah. So were you confused at all by what you were witnessing?
A little bit, but I kind of got the gist of it. But yeah, I really did like the idea of how they formatted it.
Yeah. I mean, low-key, that book tour, massive spoiler for the book, because we are here doing the exact thing that they did at the bookstore, which is that all of these creatures, mythics, monsters who are being put on trial in this weird, grotesque Court of the Dead are being tried on the crime of changing.
Yes. It's presented as sort of a bait and switch, though, where they don't know what they're being accused of. There is an, basically everyone's been abducted and hauled into court without being charged or being told who's charging them, which I guess is also a thing that happens in general in America at this point. But the framing initially seems like they're accusing all of these mythics of doing terrible things to demigods and having them admit to them. But then we're switching it up on them and saying like, no, that's actually what you're supposed to be doing. When you say that you did those things and you're doing different things now, that's actually the problem. You're violating the world order. Tradition should mean something. And there's a lot of these like classical villainesque monologues espousing an ideology of, I don't know how else to describe it, but conservatism. The idea in like a William F. Buckley fashion of witnessing things changing in society and saying that it must stop. We're halting it.
Yeah, halting progress, halting change, etc. Also on the understanding what's going on here, vein, this is clearly something that's happening without the permission and approval and knowledge of Hades himself.
Yes.
These three figures are not Hades, although Will says he knows who one of these people are, and they later get named as, we're jumping around chapters here, Perithous the demigod, who nobody knows,
but was friends with Theseus
allegedly friends and roommates, I'm sure. Mary Tudor and Tantalus.
Should we unpack the Mary Tudor thing? Does anyone have any thoughts about Mary Queen of Scots?
I was hoping that you were going to be willing to unpack it because I have no thoughts on it.
So
TJ,
Mary
you got
Tudor is most famously played by Saoirse Ronan opposite Margot Robbie in the film Mary Queen of Scots, that clearly they both and everyone involved thought was going to be a huge Oscar baity thing, and that almost no one has seen, which is very unfortunate. They basically were in Mary was like opposed to Elizabeth the First, the Great, depending on who you ask. And there were like several layers of fight between them. One of them was the whole Scotland versus England thing. One of them was about which side of their family was most relevant, because I think that they were half sisters. One of the levels was about religion, because this was that time where the British Isle was undergoing a lot of... It was not clear at that point whether Catholicism or Protestantism was going to win the day. And Mary was trying to like haul everybody back over to the Catholic side. The reason why she's referred to as Bloody Mary is because she killed a lot of Protestants as part of that whole situation. I think she's like a divisive figure, though, in the sense that like a lot of people find her holy wars to be repugnant for a lot of reasons, killing people because they have a slightly different opinion about who has more relevant interpretations of God is a lot, and I would not advocate for that. But there are these like other layers on it as well, as far as like nations within Britain, and I don't know. I just mostly felt random to me, if I'm being totally honest. Like, why Mary Tudor? And like, we don't really explain it. I feel like if we're reaching for just like horrible rulers, there are a lot of other people that you could have also reached for where it's more obvious what is horrible about them. And I guess she's like somebody who is trying to stop change in the form of Protestantism, but also like she was like a change agent herself. Like the way that she came after we had like established the Church of England and was trying to like yank everybody in a different direction that I guess was harkening back to something historical, but was also like in and of itself a big change. Anyway.
Yeah.
I don't really see the vision.
Because we need these judges to represent, like, their whole thing is that they're trying to restore the original, make the underworld, I'm trying not to do it. Make the underworld what it once was once more. And replace Hades with like the true order of things. So they're like people who are trying to enact change now, but only change to restore what once was. Quote, I'm going to read this from page 224. Perithous is talking. The court of the dead has been established to punish such deviant behavior, to return the world to its natural order. And you, Morpho, are irredeemable. It is our judgment that you shall be executed for your crimes in such a way that you will never regenerate in Tartarus, for this is a court of the true and permanent death. This is Morpho the Telekine on trial. Poor thing. His crime is Etsy. This is all, there's a lot of red flag, historical things, I think, baked into this whole section in which we are in the Court of the Dead, and the kind of like rhetoric that Perithous is sharing. The natural order of things is a big red flag.
Yeah.
I also just had to laugh, though, in general, that this whole, in italics, true and permanent death, that now, again, literally 12 years after the House of Hades to the date, we are reestablishing in the Riordan verse true and permanent death. This is something we have talked about so many times over the years on this podcast, is how when you eliminate the function of death in your universe, it becomes very hard to have stakes to your storytelling whatsoever. This is when things devolve, like the MCU, we talk about it Once Upon a Time.
People end up reinventing death afterwards. They did in Once Upon a Time, where there was this whole arc where they were in the underworld, and they were like, actually, there's like an uber underworld, uber overworld, where you either get destroyed from existence or ascend to basically heaven and are never heard from again. Like The Good Place even did this, where essentially by the end of the run, they were like, no, we need to reinvent death within death. for all of this to have made sense and for us to have satisfaction as individuals.
Even when you're telling an interesting story about immortal beings, there has to be some way for them to actually like perish. Because I feel like as our little human lizard brains cannot do storytelling without death. We can't, that is the function of our world and therefore is the function of our stories. And so even if you try to eliminate death from your fantasy world, it's got to creep back in there at some point. And this is our quote, true and permanent death returning. Those are some real freaking stakes to this book.
It really just caught me off guard too, because like these are like monsters / mythics, and we never like seen them like die. Just like they're coming back from Tartarus, and they would just go through the cycle all over again, But
and it really raises the question: how?
That's what I was asking too.
What's happening to them actually? And if this were possible, why wouldn't anyone else have tried to do this over the thousands of years? Like, why wasn't Chiron teaching all of these generations of demigods permanent ways to end the cycle?
Right. What literally happens when Morpho is sentenced is that he bursts into like a pile of ashes. Now, we have seen this many, many times. Like we've seen this every time a monster is quote unquote killed, but not in a true and permanent way, right? They like turn into ashes. I'm thinking about Sally Jackson also. Like the first time we thought about death in the Writerverse ever in The Lightning Thief, and the first time somebody was like taken away, burst into ashes, and at that point she was not really dead, she was just like,
well, she burst into gold dust. That was like the whole
different
giveaway that something else was happening. I feel like it harkens to like I believe famous Jewish expression about the like lack of an underworld in that theology, like ashes to ashes, dust to dust, which is both an expression of finality but also on some level an expression of the cyclical nature of like life and generation and such.
When that happens, we don't know. We don't know if these judges actually possess the power to enact true and permanent death or like what just happened. So we're definitely in the dark, but poor Morpho, who just wanted to make toys on Etsy, is gone. And then the next defendant is Asterion. Spaghetti-o. But that's okay, because in chapter 22, we're going to get some more witchery crumbs from Hazel, who's going to create a mist distraction so that we can free Asterion. Now, the entire time Asterion was on trial, I was like, what is this reminding me of? What is his like all-knowing, calm, sweet, like pure presence in the face of injustice reminding me of? And it was the very end of Lilo and Stitch, when Stitch is like chained up in handcuffs, and he says, can Stitch say goodbye? And he just waddles down very calm to speak to his family. That is what this whole thing felt like. Asterion was like very calm and like, I would like to know who is accusing me. Who are you judges? And he gets them to reveal their identity.
Yeah, he's calm, but he's also not submitting to what's happening either. He's trying to invoke classical standards and have them honored or imposed in this very non-classical setting. Like I think a lot of things with Asterion throughout this book raise questions about the noble savage's archetype of like what we ask from beings, people, humans. I don't know what exactly the term is, but what we ask of those who are coming from minoritized classes and or being like presenting themselves as having changed. And oftentimes the primary marker that gets used to judge that is this calmness. Like a lot of these like affective things and ways of being able to notch into existing systems that they are not of or have been excluded from or what have you. And like he's like leaning into that hard here. It's giving decorum, it's giving legalese, and fascinating. Raises a lot of questions.
Yes, for sure.
And he's using like no violence either. Like he's just he knows he did nothing wrong, and he knows violence isn't going to get him out of this. So he's just going to just try to be respectful about it, but still kind of stand his ground and be a bit sassy about it too.
Yeah, he says, quote, Mary Tudor says, I was once a powerful queen, so I request that you refer to me as your majesty. Yes, your majesty, said Asterion, unflustered.
Yeah, for this quote, I was trying to say like, like they respected to call him Asterion instead of the Minotaur. So he's like, all right, I'll call you your majesty. I'm not going to bow down to you or anything like that. But, you respected my title, so even though you got me here for like no reason, I'll respect your title. That's the least I could do. Just basic decency.
He says, I accept responsibility for my past actions and I have done my best to change. Not but or anything. He says, I accept my responsibility for my past actions and I have done my best to change. And the judge say, Asterion, we are here to restore the natural order of things. Again, if gods won't intervene, we will. We will remind Olympus, the underworld, and the realm of mortals that some lines are not meant to be crossed. Nico in his narration says he'd clearly been practicing that speech in a mirror and it had the desired effect. The crowd leaped to its feet and hooves and snake trunks cheering wildly. The whole physical description of this court reminded me of two things. One was the scene in the Battle of the Labyrinth where Percy ends up in that like gladiator arena filled with like nameless monsters who are all a part of Kronos' army and has to fight Ethan Nakamura. And also the crowd scene in SpongeBob when they're cooking hamburgers, him versus King Neptune. It is very hard. I feel like this whole section I think was very hard. This particular quote was hard to read because it's so ridiculous and Nico can tell it's so ridiculous, but then immediately the crowd jumps to its feet and is in agreement of it. And that is what is so upsetting, that there is a genuine apparent following behind this group of people. We don't know why or when they were amassed, but they are like they have numbers.
Yeah.
How and why, we don't know. Anything else on that before missed distraction time?
No, it's bad. It's triggering.
It's bad. It's triggering. I thought this was a fun escapist fantasy book. Just kidding. That's never been the Riordan verse.
And of course, Hazel has it especially bad. We should flag now that for her, this is helping. It's forcing her to think about the time that she was, as a dead mortal, judged before the actual court of the dead, like going before Minos and all of those other people and being sent to the fields of Asphodel. So she is extra mad, extra triggered.
Right.
Yes.
I don't think she really resolved that. Like, am I still really supposed to be here? Like, I'm pretty sure it's like still in the back of her mind. Like, she never really got resolution to that.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. She's going to push through all of that to do a misdirection. Quote, Nico rose and the world tilted off balance again. A wave of pressure rippled outward from Hazel's seat, making Nico's ears pop and his breath steam. Suddenly, the cavern looked 1,000 times bigger, a stadium ringed with tiers of bleachers, and Hazel turns this court, using the mist, into a Billy Joel Madison Square Garden concert.
Does anyone know why she turned into a Billy Joel Madison Square Garden concert?
My only thought is that it allows Will to be like, I went to one of these with my mom once. I think my mom's in town right now.
We don't need to talk too much about it because I think fundamentally this is kind of random and there isn't any meaning to be extracted from it. But like, if we're to pick an artist that Hazel would be uniquely not well positioned to appreciate, Billy Joel, as somebody who's squarely too young for when she died the first time and squarely too old for who she is currently as a teenager in America, vaguely modern America, Billy is like almost perfectly positioned right between those two lives that she's had to be relevant to neither of them.
Yes,
but
it is deeply random. At first I was confused. I was like, is it Nico seeing Billy Joel, but all the other people here are seeing something else?
But Nico's the same way. He's also positioned perfectly to not have an opinion about Billy Joel.
I don't know. I have no idea.
What really got me was how all the monsters in the crowd had smartphones. And I just want to know like who taught Hazel all the basic stuff of a smartphone, like cameras and videos. Like, I'm sure she had to like imagine this in her mind, how detailed.
That's so true. She's not allowed to have an iPhone, but she is able to. Wow. But she is able to like mist create several iPhones. That is so interesting.
Yeah. I mean, maybe the mythics in the realm also don't know what. And they're just all lying to each other and being like, oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's
Or maybe they have a boot camp at Camp Jupiter. I don't know.
Yeah, they have a tech class. They have type to learn class or something. A little bit more witchery description. Perithous pointed right at Hazel again, who was exactly as Nico had left her, doing some Scarlet Witch shit. In her seat in the court, her eyes closed, her lips moving as she muttered an incantation. The mist formed an aura around her, much like the iris message of a tessera. She was the only fixed point in the chaos of sound and images. Delightful. Fighting ensues. Nico refers to himself as the Ghost King. That'll never get old. But then Perwithois, bam, murders, turns Asterion into a pile of dust and ashes.
We can say murders. This is not a real trial. And also the death penalty is illegitimate. Yeah.
Murders, as far as we know, Asterion in the true and permanent death. This is very upsetting. Everyone's freaking out. But we can't, there's no time because now it's Hazel's turn to be tried. This is very bad. For all of chapter 23, Hazel is on trial. We understand a little bit more about who is present in the court. It's D. Inferi?
Yes. This is, I think, mostly, we don't, I think, do a lot with this as far as symbolic resonances or with lore build out. Other than that, the point of these beings is that they are pre-Pluto Roman death deities. And so they sort of supersede Nico's power. Like, they're basically there to answer the question, why can't Nico and Hazel just underworld child powers their way through all
Quote,
of this? And the reason why
Necrobabies.
Necro baby their way out. And the reason why is because they're these older deities. And there's several mentions of this around here. Like, Rick has been digging around a little bit in that bag for things outside of the true Greco-Roman canon, including these deities that predate sort of the movement of gods from Greece to Rome. And there's also a mention in the previous chapter of an Etruscan, I think. I wrote this down.
Mm-hmm.
It was a few chapters ago with, Etruscan. Fuflans? I think mostly that's there to be a silly name. Fuflans is the Telkines' Etsy collaborator.
Yes.
But also an Etruscan god. These are like referring to other, I guess, pantheons, other gods that are from the Mediterranean, but aren't in that main canon really. Although, of course, as we know, there's a lot of porousness and migrating. Aphrodite is maybe originally a Babylonian deity, etc., etc.
Riot versus Madness. Riot versus Madness. Riot versus Madness.
Riot versus Madness. We're prepped. We're ready.
We're ready. The world is ready. Our brains are primed. The readers are prepared. Hazel is murdered. It's very upsetting. Quote, the Olympian gods have forgotten themselves. They need to be reminded of the proper order of things, and the only way to do that is to show them, to make it painfully obvious just how wrong things have become. This is the third or fourth time in these two chapters that we have heard that phrase, the order of things, the natural order, the proper order, come back.
Yeah. They're hammering on that ideology, but it is interesting the way that they're also framing themselves here with respect to the gods.
Yes.
That this project is clearly outside of that structure of power, but is trying to make appeals to that structure of power. The goal of this is to say, Olympians, do this. Like, we are setting a good example for you, and we want you to learn from this.
Yeah.
Right.
And institute this vision.
It's so funny that, in this scenario, the Olympian gods are, the more progressive form of government. When, as we know from 20 books of the Riordanverse, that they are simply not the progressive form of the government, but we are now forced
they
to
don't really progress in most ways. They're very
the
sclerotic.
whole point is that they are never changing immortal beings, but somehow they are now being framed as the more progressive option in comparison with this upstart Court of the Dead. And so now the demigods are once again forced to work on behalf of the Olympians. I'm very interested to see what Hades is going to have to say about this and how I am supposed to feel about Hades as being the better option. I don't know, triggering as hell. This is a very tough section of this book.
Hazel is not restrained in her defense. She is going through it. She is emotional for good reason. And one of the there's not that much to say about this trial. It's mostly these ideological platitudes that we've heard from the judges previously. But a big focus of this is the illegitimacy of her being alive again. They make this whole point of saying that all of her heroic deeds in Life Part 2 are null and void. They're sort of an administrative, you have to disregard them because she shouldn't have been alive. She's breaking the rules. She doesn't have the right paperwork. Feels like the sort of resonance and metaphor that they're trying to lean into with that we can't understand that she's a good person if she is slipping through administrative cracks in certain aspects of her life, and they don't know how to categorize her. And I don't know, it is with that as the backdrop that she allegedly dies a before she is allegedly executed in such a way that her soul shall never return to the world of the living. Although, as it happens, Nico and Will are trying to help her, but she turns to them and says, Nico, don't believe it. And like, she's a witch. I think this is the moment where we're like, okay, witch, what's really going on here? She says, don't believe it. And also the cavern collapses in a mass of jewels, which is also like her whole, like, that's how she died the first time, is act of defiance in which jewels collapse in underground space.
Yeah, we'll see.
So you guys think this is more of the mist than an underworld like Hades thing?
I can only assume that this is not how they're gonna kill Hazel. And also, she literally, I feel like that her saying this is pretty strong evidence to me that we're gonna see something else.
Ooh!
But then where is she? What does she have going on?
We'll have to wait and see. Thank you so much, TJ, for joining us today. Carter has literally 2 minutes. So I wanted to wrap us up. I also wanted to shout out if this whole part of the book was very triggering and upsetting to you. In New York City, there's an organization called Court Watch, and I think there's similar organizations in other cities. You could look up Court Watch, your local city, organizations that encourage like transparency in your court system, and you can come and volunteer and observe what's going on and also help share information with people who are at the court. There's been a lot of relationship between Court Watch and helping spread information about like ICE patrol and whatnot, because ICE has been showing up to courts to take people. So that's a good organization. You can look at Court Watch NYC and Court Watch in your local area. TJ, would you like to either tell people where they can find you or have anything to promote while you're here with us?
I would just promote this podcast. It's a great podcast. So keep listening to the podcast. It's just a great podcast. I think everyone should keep listening.
You're so sweet.
Go to the Patreon.
Yep. We just released our Halloween episode about weapons and also what's making us happy this Halloween. And I'm so mad, Carter, because the whole reason I said we should do half the episode about other content is because I wanted to talk about Over the Garden Wall, and I literally forgot.
Right.
I fully
texted me about that.
Because I just watched it for the first time. But you can hear us talk about all sorts of other Halloween media that we love. Go join us, patreon.com/seaweedbrain. Thank you so much, TJ. And we will see y'all next week.
Bye, all.
Bye.